Hey, what's up, Cobra Kai fans? Welcome to Happy Harry Hash Brown. I am Hash Brown Harry, and I am honored today in the Hash Brown sit down to be talking with the great Darryl Vidal, who's kind of been on my radar since I was a kid and I saw Karate Kid for the first time. I noticed him, but I didn't really know who he was till later in life. He is the inventor of the famous crane kick. He beat Johnny Lawrence. He was beaten by Johnny Lawrence in the 1984 All Valley Tournament. He's the author of several books in education technology, including Fail to Plan, Plan to Fail, which is something that my Marine Corps father told me time and time and time again. And he is also the Grand Master of Vidal Kimpo. Darryl Vidal, welcome to Happy Harry Hash Brown.
All right, happy Harry Hash Brown. Great meeting you, JT. That's a great intro.
There's
Appreciate
a
it.
story behind that name, but this is your story today. Let's get right into it. It's 1984, 85, somewhere in there.
Yep.
Karate Kid. How did you get the part?
I'm gonna get the part. Okay, so that's 1983.
83.
Before the movie actually came out, right? So I used to do a lot of karate competition. I had been training for X number of years. I've got my black belt. Do a lot of karate tournaments in the LA area, and just you know, what do you know? They're scouting. The director of Rocky is scouting, and he happens to be at the tournament. I happened to win that tournament, and they came up to me and said, "You want to be in a movie?" It literally happened like that. It's crazy.
That kind of stuff never happens to me. I'm hanging out all places all the time, and nobody ever asked me if I wanted to be in a movie. Now,
Yeah.
I did a little background research on this. I don't know if it's true or not. You would have the
Okay.
answer. That you were
Hope so.
actually uncredited in that one. That it was something like in the credits, semifinals.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, when the movie came out, I had those two parts. I had played Vidal versus Johnny, right, in the semifinal. But I also did the crane technique and was wearing, the bodysuit and performing it in as a stand-in for Mr. Miyagi.
On the
Uh,
beach scene.
yeah. So, but when it came out, it just said Darryl Vidal karate semifinalist. That was it. And everybody knew that Fumio Demura, great karate master, did all the fight scenes for Pat Morita. But so a lot of people decided or thought that he was also the person who did the crane technique. So there wasn't anything out there to validate that until about 20 years later when they came out with the director's cut and they actually talked about it. And then later after that, I met with John Alvinson, the director, and we talked about it and made a little video. And so there's a lot more documentation about it nowadays than that. But yeah,
Right.
yeah,
What was interesting is I didn't pay attention to this until just a few years ago, after revisiting the Karate Kids. They actually used your real name. Like they didn't give you a fake name. It's like you're Daryl Vidal. So
yeah, yeah.
so you got to be
Uh,
yourself.
it was a weird thing. I can remember, had been recruited for the movie. I had gotten a script, and I'm looking through it, and my name's in it, and it's like, wow, they're using my name, and it was a strange thing, and even somebody recently just said to me, he goes, "You're the only one that is in a movie, and you play yourself." But you're a character in a movie with your own name is it's kind of
They kind of did that for Bolo and Enter the Dragon too, didn't they?
well, you know what? You're right. Bolo is Bolo. Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was like a martial arts film thing back then. Was when they bring in people who were actual competitors that they
Yeah, I
would
never
just
thought
kind of
about
credit
that.
them with their
But they
real name.
don't call him by his first and last name. So
Yeah. It was always obvious that the point of Karate Kid was about Daniel, who has no business being in a karate tournament. Just none whatsoever. He's got a little bit of training, but it's less than a year, and he's getting his black belt stolen for him, among his many other crimes, as you'll hear about on the internet. Uh, it was obvious that was the point of the film, is that you could overcome that kind of thing. You could use that heart, I guess, and that taught us a
yes,
lot as kids.
yes.
But as a real martial artist, as somebody who had competed, did you ever have that moment where you just kind of went back to your friends and was like, I could kick these guys' ass? I mean, like they're actors. I'm an artist. Like what was that like for you being in there?
Oh, I mean, clearly it's Hollywood. I mean, it we trained for like 6 weeks during the summer of '83, preparing the Cobra Kai guys. So I actually trained with, Zabka and all those guys just to kind of build, some cohesiveness between that team. And then Ralph and Pat Morita would train separately with Pat Johnson. When we would do that, they still wouldn't allow us to spar because they didn't want any of the actors to get injured. So even though they had that realism of training, when we train, it's like at the end of the train, you're sparring with each other, you're getting hit, and you might get hurt and all that kind of stuff. So they never were allowed to actually have that. So everybody knew they really can't spar.
So did you get like a different level of respect on set? Like,
I don't know. It's interesting. I found it's on my Instagram. If you look it up, I have a letter that Billy Zabka had written for me because in 2013 I was raised to 10th degree, and my wife had contacted Billy, and he wrote me this great letter, and in it he talks about the fact that he had a lot of respect meeting me because I was like the real deal, in his memory back from '84. So I wouldn't say that I noticed it because I was the same age as these guys. I was actually feeling like just kind of like laying low because I wasn't an actor. I was just a karate guy there to fill in some blanks for doing karate. So I never felt like, hey, I'm better than you guys. It was always kind of like the other way around.
I got you.
Yeah.
Being a kid watching that film, and even like growing up as a teenager, seeing it, revisiting it years later, I always thought, how damn cool would it be to be in a tournament like that? Like, there's all kinds of people there. They're cheering you on. We didn't have anything like that around here, taekwondo classes, things of that sort, but it was never this big thing. And I thought, how cool would that be to compete? But Hollywood is Hollywood, and I've always known that. How accurate is that tournament setting with all the different rings around? And
where are you? Were you
in North Carolina?
Okay, so in Southern California, karate tournaments are pretty well attended. So I would say in terms of the ones that appeared in Karate Kid, they were done at Cal State Northridge. I don't know if you knew that, which is a university. It's Cal State University.
Okay.
So the gym is fairly large, but I probably attended. Half of the tournaments that we would go to are probably similarly attended, maybe a little less. These days, it's a mix. There's small tournaments and bigger ones. So it was a pretty good recreation. In fact, they held 3 actual tournaments called the Karate Kid tournaments in the year of 1983, 84, in order to film that. So parts of the video that filming that you see, like when they have the wide shot and their kids are fighting in different rings, that's a real tournament going on.
With real martial artists, or
with real students.
Okay, so they brought in other real guys from the area.
They actually had real tournaments, and so schools came and competed. So some of those people are in that film.
Okay, yeah, all right, that's cool.
It's that long shot when they come in and it's Daniel's getting the rules. He just got his belt, and they make that walk through the thing, and they have a long shot where there's 3 or 4 rings, and kids sparring. Yeah, it's pretty realistic.
That's cool. I don't think Karate Kid would have been as successful as it was without somebody like Pat Johnson working with the kids and being the referee. And if you've seen the director's cut where he's actually playing Kreese for a little while.
I've seen rehearsal video.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the rehearsal cut.
Pat Johnson, absolutely.
How much did you get to work with Pat?
Remember when I talked about the 6 weeks training with
just that?
Yeah, that was all Pat. That was with him leading that group, and then later in the day he would go train Pat and Pat Morita and Ralph. So yeah, we got to know each other pretty well, and then we don't see each other very much lately, but we still have communicated. I would call him a lifelong friend, definitely.
Absolutely. Did you have, being a professional martial artist at that point, did you have any influence over what was going on in some of those scenes?
Yeah. Once we got all training together, I would show them all stuff, so that to help everybody out. But in particular, Billy Zabka, who, Johnny Lawrence, there's a lot of the stuff that you see him do that I worked with him on. For instance, in the one montage scene where the guy comes in, he grabs his arm and brings his leg over the top and kicks it.
Yeah, that was a cool kick. Yeah.
I showed him that move and said, "Hey, you could do this," because he could kick. He was pretty limber and he was able to do it. So we got to work with a few of those, and then the whole fight scene between myself and Johnny Lawrence, which was a little bit longer before it was cut, was pretty much he and I just working together. And said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this.
I heard there's a missing point somewhere.
Yeah, it is. It's somewhere. It was in there because I just don't recall. It's not in the rehearsal video. It's not in that video. So it's like,
there's no footage anyway.
Yeah, it's one of these. It's like they say, no pick. It didn't happen. So
right. What about the crane kick? Tell us about the crane kick. Everybody loves that kick. Okay. I still crane up on people at work when they get me mad. It's like, what?
Yeah, it is amazing. I got some great crane kick stories for you, but the base of it is from the writer, Robert Mark Kamen, and his concept that, the kid has his leg injured, so he needs to be able to stand on one foot. And then from there, he says, he came up with the crane kick. And the way he described it to me was arms out to the side, like a bird flying, one leg up, standing on one leg. And so my initial response, I still feel, slightly embarrassed thinking about it. I said, "Why would you ever do that? It's not realistic." And they just said it was the director and the writer, and they said, because that's what it is. And so I said, "Oh, I better just shut up and do it." So we did this kick, and they wanted it to be a certain way, which was to stand on one leg, jump and land on the leg that you're standing on, which is pretty difficult. You can't really do it without like a running start. So after a while of working with it, I told them, "Look, we're going to do it this way, where you jump, kick with one leg and land on the other leg." And so I convinced them that's the way it was. And so that's what we ended up with. And then they said, "Well, you got to do something with your hands." So that's where, I basically said, "I'll do this."
Which is Wing Chun, right?
Well, this guard is a Wing Chun guard.
Okay.
It's it's low off the center line, and that's where it comes from. It's not pure, but then from here going into this, obviously, is just made up.
Okay. Because people talk about the crane kick still.
Everybody, I've got people that call me, a fraud and a liar because people say that I say I invented it, but the kick is just a double jump kick. So there's a lot of people that want to say, "Oh, I'm lying," but okay, I did. This is the kick, but this is made up. So whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, this is the Hollywood, but this is the martial art, right?
Yeah, it's not really that important to me. So
as a grown man, it's one of the goofiest looking things ever. But it works, and it's so popular, and we still use it today.
People still do it. And I've seen all kinds of crazy videos and football games and everything.
You got any good stories? Any fun stories of working on the set?
Working on the set.
Yeah, just being on the being in a movie. Were they pranksters? They.
Well, who was really funny is Pat Morita.
Oh, I heard so much about him. I wish I could have met him.
Yeah. Just as a regular guy, we kind of clicked because we were the only Asians kind of for a while when we're hanging around on set. It's like so we had to, and then when I got all the bodysuit and stuff for the actual filming, we kind of went around together, and it's a shame that I don't have any pictures from that event, but just a truly funny guy. But the humor back then was a lot more, what would you say, non-PC, right? So anything goes with Pat Morita, right? Asian jokes, women jokes, cultural other jokes. You can just imagine.
Yeah.
He was always telling great stuff. That's probably the most fun I had hanging out with somebody there.
So let me pick at your grandmaster side a little bit. Miyagi-Do, Cobra Kai, they obviously have different philosophies. Miyagi-Do, defense only. Cobra Kai, strike first, strike hard. How legit is that? Like, I've always felt like both were the extreme sides of the sport, of the art, and that maybe the truth kind of lies somewhere in the middle. Like,
Yes.
what's the real deal?
Remember balance.
Balance.
Balance is the key. And it is. And you're right. In fact, someone asked me that exact same question. And it was the first time I was answering it. So after I thought about it, it's true. It is really both. Because on the one hand, we don't train to be aggressive. We train to, to be able to protect yourself. I wouldn't say that karate is entirely defensive, because my attitude in terms of self defense is that the minute you feel in danger is when you should take the initiative. So that doesn't mean to wait till you're getting hit. It means wait till you feel like you're going to get hit and then go first. So that would mean to take the advantage or even take the surprise. Uh, that to me is really on the Cobra Kai side, right? Strike first, strike hard. But then you know after you train for years, you tend to become a more passive person because uh, you well, I mean, for myself anyway, I don't get hung up on karate. It's part of my life, but it isn't my life, right?
Right.
It doesn't define me. So if we were to meet, in a social situation, I would probably never even talk about it unless it came up, or we were in some kind of common interest about the martial arts. So yeah, that part of it is more like the Miyagi Do, and so it, I think there's a balance. I think you hit it on the head. Your natural instinct from a very young part time of your life was it.
Right. You're a fan of Bruce Lee. I know that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I am becoming a fan of Bruce Lee. I've known all about Bruce Lee and I've heard his stuff, but more and more as I learn. One of his philosophies that I've kind of thought about for years is the be water
Right.
philosophy. Water's malleable. You can put it in a cup. You can put it in a teapot. Um, but he also was very critical of other martial arts.
Hmm.
So for me, I'm considering studying with Grandmaster Dong at one of his schools here in the area. And how would one, from your point of view, apply that kind of fluidity and be water to their martial art
That's a
that's
really good
not Jeet
question.
Kune Do?
That's a really good question because um, you know Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do was really the first MMA. He was the
Right.
first guy who popularized mixing, uh, you know, Western and Eastern martial arts together to come up with something that was just really about go for it, type of mentality. But when you go to study and train, uh, you're not going to find that unless you're going to train in JKD, which is it's, it's something you have to be careful of just in and of itself. But I would just say look at who you're thinking about training with, and look at the students and how long have they been around. See if you're interested in the type of training that they're doing, because it they vary a lot, depending on the style and the philosophy. But I would say look at what they're offering. Don't necessarily compare it to for instance, a JKD, or what you may know of in JKD, because I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but half the JKD that's out there isn't truly
I've
associated
heard
with,
that. Yeah.
something that Bruce Lee has put out there, because that was so limited. So when and I don't like to disparage any martial arts, because they all have the value that they offer, but you have to look at JKD with a little bit of skepticism sometimes when you know somebody is, let's say, they're very young and they don't look like they're well traveled or well trained, yet they talk about being whatever level in JKD, because there's just not a lot of it out there.
All right, fair enough. All right, everybody on my channel loves Cobra Kai. That's why they all have subscribed.
Perfect.
Are you
Perfect.
caught
Love
up?
it. I'm caught up. In
Oh
fact,
man.
of course, I mean, being part of a very small part of the universe, I knew about it as soon as it was coming out on YouTube Red. So I was one of the original ones. I watched it all the way through. They actually used a cut from Karate Kid One in season one, episode one, in one of Johnny's flashbacks. It's actually the flashback to the tournament. One of them is actually with me.
Mhm.
So they had to get my my waivers and sign papers with me. So I knew about it early on, and I knew they knew about me too because I had when I responded to them, I said, "Hey, tell them that I still train and send them this video." I sent them a video that I have on YouTube, and I said,
You're like, hey, put me on, put me on.
yeah, why
Right
not,
on.
right? So you
Sure.
get how many chances do you get? And then I also put them, hey, I look like Mr. Miyagi now, so
In case you got a flashback scene.
exactly. In case you want to have a ghost of Miyagi appear somewhere, you can do that too. So and then so further on, just they mentioned me here and there, so pretty interesting. I love it.
Well, you're getting a lot of mention on the show now,
Yeah, yeah,
which I think is cool. Like you were mentioned a couple times. I think in like passing that unless you were a true fan, people didn't pick up on. But then this season,
exactly.
one of the best scenes was when Kreese goes to talk to Robbie, and apparently you whooped Johnny's ass a couple years before, and we didn't know about it. You were just a
Right.
guy that
Well,
lost in the movie.
it is interesting because I've got the passing, you beat Vidal that came out in season two, which, just to comment but briefly, I think the writers are brilliant. I think they're obviously big fans of, Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3 because they can zing you with these little cliches that come from those movies. And younger people who aren't as familiar don't even know those. But when Tommy says, or Johnny says, you beat Vidal in '83, I'm like, wait a minute, there's no way I lose to Tommy. But
Right? He's a
and
good
then
one.
yeah, and then in season three, obviously they're building a little backstory. I don't know where they're going with it, I have to admit, but not only does Kreese talk about me, but they have an article, and it shows up real quickly. But somebody posted it, and they actually screenshotted it. And there's additional information in there, like it says, I won, I think in '81, and I was the champ. So it was like, oh, me and
Okay.
Johnny are 1-1.
Right? That's cool. All right. So crane kick critique. Who does it better, Miguel in season one or LaRusso in the original?
Okay, so this is one of those good analytical questions because the crane kick, the way it's devised for Karate Kid 1, is defensive, right? Because he's standing in one place.
All right.
And when Miguel does it in the tournament, was it season one tournament? He jumps forward and he attacks with it. So those are kind of two different types of crane kicks. Um, you know, Daniel's crane kick on top of the stump, obviously, uh, he's doing it poorly on purpose. The crane kick in the tournament, I mean, it's it. It is. It's the iconic event of the movie, right? So
Right.
everyone knows that Johnny ran into it, but it's still the classic move. Miguel does it, and just kind of gets an incidental point with it, and then they start becoming wise to it. So I think they did it. They did it right. They made
Right.
it effective for the moment, um, and be done with it.
Okay. All right. All right. So I don't. You've probably been asked this 100 times, but like, settle the damn debate. Is it legal? Is it legal? I
Okay,
say it is. I say it is.
great. Well, I say the writers are brilliant because I think they made up this debate because I don't think it wasn't until season one came out and Ralph says it was an illegal kick and it really was a debate. To me, it was never questioned whether it was a legal kick or not. Of course, it was legal. Uh, Everybody in that tournament's get kicked in the face.
Right.
You know. Now, would he have been disqualified for it is a different question, because I would say that the rules are generally for face contact in karate tournaments is kiss, what we call kiss contact, where I can hit you and make contact, but if your head snaps back or if you draw blood or there's redness, then we call a penalty. So,
but he ran into it, right? So
okay, so yeah, but it's still any face contact.
Okay,
for
fair
instance,
enough.
if we're fighting and you slip and your head goes down, but I was doing a round kick and I caught you in the face, they might not disqualify you for that, but they might say, "That's still face contact. You're disqualified." In this case, his head snapped back and even fell to the ground, so it would arguably been a disqualification. But then again, it was the championship winning sequence, so I don't know if the judges are going to.
Well, Hollywood says it's a legal kick no matter what. I mean, he could have taken out a bat and beat him within won the tournament as far as Hollywood's concerned, right?
Exactly. Good point.
All right, so I know you can't say maybe it's happened or maybe it hasn't, but I did in some Facebook groups. I said, "Hey, I'm going to be talking to Darryl Vidal. Anybody have any questions?" And everybody kind of wants to know, "Are you coming into the show?" I know you can't answer that, even if you knew. But what I can ask you is play with me a little bit, have some fun, use your imagination. If you could, if they called you up and they said, "Hey, Darryl, we want you to do the show," and they let you kind of write your way in, how would you like to see yourself come into Cobra Kai?
Now that's a great way to ask it, because then I can just answer that. Because yeah, the backstories that people have come up with me have been great, but I think the most likely scenario is actually what has happened in my life is I continue to train and continue to teach. So now I have Locust Valley Karate Club still going, and I return to the tournament with a team, and I don't know if there's much more to do with the character than that, but that I think that story holds up.
Yeah, maybe Locust Valley wins it in season 4, and then that's how they go all the way to season 6, right?
Yeah, who knows?
that would be cool. I think that would be cool. Yeah, Philip, a guy named Philip Drip on one of my Facebook groups kind of asked it that way, and I thought I'd put my own spin on it.
Another one that has come up is in season 3. There's a Filipino kid in the Cobra Kai, or the Eagle Fang team, right?
Right.
And so people are saying, "Hey, that must be your son."
Yeah, well, somebody told me to ask you. I'll do it. I wasn't going to. Are you Miguel's father?
Well, as I understand it, Miguel is Ecuadorian or something.
It's Honduran. Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. So the answer is obviously no, but
not in my mind. Yeah. But if it gets me on the show, then I'll be it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm actually hoping one day to maybe be an extra in one of the later seasons. Just even if it's just me sitting at the tournament, sitting in the background, I think that'd be cool. You've been generous with your time, and I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you want to plug away at? Talk about your stuff before we sign off here.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, a couple things. I have written a book. I don't know if I told you about it. I've written a book. It's called Backstage, and it is on Amazon. So if you search with my name, Darryl Vidal, and Backstage, you'll find it. And it's about a musician who used to play with Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra. And there are a bunch of true untold stories. And so that's the book that I have out. But I have recently got an option with a production company, an independent production company. So they're going to be turning it into a film. So that's exciting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exciting for me. And then just if you want to contact me, you can get through me too on Facebook. It's Vidal Kempo. If you want, I usually add people there. On Instagram, it's Rock Breaker Boy. It's kind of a silly name, but it's all one word, at Rock Breaker Boy. And I'm usually pretty responsive and talk to fans and love to interact with people. So.
All right. Well, very cool, folks. This has been Darryl Vidal. He's the original Mr. Miyagi. Well, no, I better not say it that way.
Yeah.
He's the original Miyagi crane kick guy.
There you go.
Yeah. Who did a wonderful job and has been I don't know if you thought about it this way, but you were kind of unintentionally thrust into the world of Cobra Kai
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and this phantom stardom that you're kind of enjoying now. And I think it's really
Yeah,
cool. Appreciate
it
you
is.
coming on.
Thanks a lot,
All
JD,
right.
and hope everybody has a great day and enjoy. I guess we'll all wait for season 4 now.
Waiting for season 4 and waiting for COVID to end, right?
Yeah, oh, God, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Joe.